Love of the Invisibles, How Ash Found Violet 29, copyrighted 2015 by Nazeli Zelian. Ash and Violet spent the night cuddled together in bed, sleeping peacefully for the first time since they were vacationing in Alaska. While Violet slept the whole night, Ash periodically woke up from the drumming on his hands wrapped around Violet's waist. The little souls were active, kicking and moving around. And how could Violet sleep while there was a dance party happening in her belly? Nevertheless, he was enjoying the commotion. He felt so guilty that he wasn't there for every moment of their development, that he kept sending positive impulses through Violet's skin to reassure the children that Daddy was there and he was going nowhere. Maybe that was why they were moving around as a response. Oh, he knew he was imagining things, but it felt amazing to hug his whole family in his embrace. When Violet woke up in the morning, he was still next to her, his ear on her belly. "What are you doing?" Violet chuckled. "Listening," he said. "Don't you hear?" "I hear nothing, but I feel a lot," Violet said. "Yeah, they're swimming around." "Ash," she laughed, "you're imagining things." "I'm so excited," he said, moving around like a little boy who got a brand new toy. "I can't wait for them to be born." "I can't wait to get home," Violet said. They all flew the next day, first to Paris for 5 hours and then to United States for another 13 hours. During the flight to Paris, Violet sat next to her uncle and enjoyed talking and laughing with him. Uncle Harry was kind and caring and very funny. At times, Violet was laughing so hard that the rest of the family turned around out of curiosity. "Having a good time?" Ash had messaged, who sat with Norik behind the seats that were occupied by Amber and Hunter. "Enjoying being a niece for once," she answered. They had to say goodbye when they were boarding to fly to United States, but Violet was not worried. After all, she could now freely communicate with him telepathically, and there were other conventional ways through the city people technology. "I will come with your cousins to visit you and the little ones once they are born. Plus, I would like to meet your in-laws and Hermina, of course," he said, giving a peck on her cheek. Then he said his goodbyes to his nephew and Ash, Amber and Hunter. The flight back home was long, but it was different than the one Violet was forced to take with Refi. She sat comfortably next to Ash, who was so attentive. Her brother also periodically checked on her, but the lovebirds isolated themselves throughout the flight. "My backache is back. Would you help numb it again?" Violet asked Ash. "Here, my sweet." He gave her another dosage of his healing energy. "You'll feel better in seconds, but you know that you're stuck with it until you deliver. The children are growing and their weight is too much for you." "But I'm lucky to have you," she said, putting her head on his shoulder. "You will help me to go through this." When they arrived to Sacramento, it was a bright sunny day. Melsik was waiting for them at the terminal. "You guys want to fly to Fresno, or you're okay with the drive?" "We flew enough," Ash said, looking at his wife. "Drive is fine." "Who is the nice lady?" Melsik messaged his brothers. "Your future sister-in-law," Hunter telepathically communicated with his brother. "She's my sunshine." Melsik nodded. No doubt about it. Golden hair, golden eyes, sunshine. His brother was glowing from happiness. It must be love. Well, the family was growing. Good thing he drove a large car. The drive took 3 hours with them, stopping a couple of times to eat and to refresh. The highway stretched through endless fields that were either planted or had cattle in it. Aunt Hermina's house looked like a well-spread country house, sitting in the middle of the land with substantial acreage that seemed to have many rooms. Melsik honked as they approached the road, taking them closer to the house, and the family came out to greet them. Mel ran towards the car with tears in her eyes, hugging her sons and her daughter-in-law. "My dears, I was so worried about you. Finally, you're home." She put her arm around Violet. "How are you feeling, my dear? Here, let me hold that." She took the small duffel bag out of her hands. They walked towards the house and were greeted with the rest of the family. When Amber was introduced to the family, she got a warm welcome. At last, Mel thought, things are getting better. Sethrak had made his famous harissa for dinner. It was a dish made with chicken and wheat, cooked for a long time to make a thick consistency until everything was one mass. Mel had made vegetable dishes. Violet enjoyed having dinner surrounded with people because for a long time she had to eat alone. The family and guests gathered around for coffee and dessert, and Aunt Hermina presented her red currant pie. Would I be all right if I eat this? Violet messaged her husband. Oh, yes, he answered telepathically. You're too far with your pregnancy to feel nauseous from that. They spent the evening watching television and playing cards. Amber and Hunter spent most of their time outside, stargazing. They only had eyes for each other, and when the time came to bid each other good night, Violet and Ash noticed their sad faces. Lately, they have been inseparable, but with Aunt Hermina's house being most accommodating, they had to spend the night away from each other. What's the deal with those two? Mel whispered to her daughter-in-law. I think there would soon be an announcement, Violet whispered back as Ash tried to eavesdrop. Female conversation, he got a silent message from his mother, but he could easily guess what that was about. Violet woke up late in the morning, but the family members were already awakened. She found out that they have all breakfasted and were scattered around. Ash and Sethrak were fixing Aunt Hermina's cabinets in the garage as she was supervising them unnecessarily, but she was having a good time doing it, so her brother and nephew gave in for her to enjoy. Hunter and Melsick had gone to town, taking Norik with them. Violet found her mother-in-law and cousin deep in conversation while they were making lunch. It was easy to see that they had a lot in common and were getting along just fine. She loved Amber and was hoping that she would become her sister-in-law. Violet, Amber greeted her cousin. I saved some pancakes for you. Violet sat around the kitchen island, still trying to keep her eyes open. I have been so sleepy lately, she said. I don't know why. Don't you? Mel chuckled. You can sleep all you want. In fact, you need to sleep more. She put a plate set in front of her. After all you have been through, my dear, all you need is rest. At lunch, the whole family was together again. It had started to rain, so the men had started the fireplace, and the room was nice and cozy. Ash had noticed that his brother was restless. He hadn't touched his food, and he had blocked all his thoughts, so he was impenetrable. Their mother was also alert, trying to figure out what was the matter. Hunter? She asked. Would you like some mashed potatoes? No, Mother, thanks. He spoke aloud, and everyone at the lunch table froze. Was this the ever-silent Hunter? Did he just got up and speak? Everyone, I have an announcement to make. He turned to Amber, who stood up, widening her bright gold eyes. He walked to her and bent his knee and held Amber's left hand with his. Everyone gasped and happily looked at each other. Amber, would you do me an honor of becoming my wife? He asked, presenting her with a silver box. Amber bent down, and her radiant smile lit the room like the rays of sun. Her eyes were full of tears, and she was unable to speak. Amber? Hunter asked, getting up on his feet, and the family members held their breath. Yes, she said. Yes, I will. Amber wrapped her hands around Hunter's neck. Everyone clapped and cheered as Hunter put on a white and canary yellow cushion-cut diamond ring on her ring finger. So, brother, Ash put his arm around Melsick. When is your turn? Not in a hurry, he chuckled.